Hello tanks and tankheads, and welcome to my preview of the T25 Pilot 1. I'm not really going to do this how I'd usually do this. Normally I try and get a replay that showcases the qualities of the tank, and I talk a bit about the stats and the armour, but it's just, I don't know, it's deeply mediocre is my takeaway with this tank from having played the games in it I have. And as a thing you can grind out for free as a tier 8 premium, okay, sure, free tier 8 premium's nothing to complain about, but as a tank you'd want to play money for? Nah. Just nah. Now, I will touch on the stats a bit, and also I'll maybe mention why I'm comparatively late getting this video out. I kept going back to it and thinking, surely if I just play a few more games, I'll get some better battles. But that was not the case. I had one kind of okay game, and then the rest of the games are going to be like this first replay. And in this case, I happened to be on the winning team. But most of the time, I was not that fortunate. So as for the stats, well, I'm not going to go over them in any huge detail. For a change, I mean, I normally do, and sometimes people complain about that, but I think it's useful to place them in context. But, I mean, broadly speaking, the context is slightly better gun handling than the KR, the Pershing, and the Super Pershing. Better DPM than the other three. It's got the same 192 average AP penetration, but you pay for that with having an okay top speed, actually a good top speed, but relatively poor horsepower per ton, and also your armour is not good. Your armour is by far the worst of any of them. Now, it's not quite bad enough, it's not like the CDC where you have to worry about basically all HE penetrating you, but 152mm and above is almost certainly going to have a good chance of penetrating your armour. And that, of course, means a lot of artillery is going to have no trouble penetrating your armour. So it's incredibly squashy. And it feels like it's squashy without the benefit of having really good mobility. And as I've said, the flat ground speed is good, but it's that horsepower per ton ratio that lets it down. It's only got a horsepower per ton ratio of, scroll down, it's 14.2, which is, it's not terrible, but considering the amount of armour you have, or rather don't have, it's not good. It's not good at all. The pattern KR with rather better armour, I mean, I say rather better, you know, it's better, it's good enough, especially around the turret. There's one thing that this really does feel like it lacks is turret armour. The turret is very squashy. Both the pattern KR and the Pershing have got, I mean, pattern KR's got a horsepower per ton of 18.4, the Pershing gets 16.4, so it's not like it's light years behind, but you feel it, you do feel it, it's not particularly mobile. So that was really my biggest kind of gripe when playing this thing, is it feels like a really fragile tank without the benefit of having the mobility that should, you know, have. But it's not like it's bad. We're not talking like it's a super version or anything. 14.2 is still kind of okay. It's got good terrain resistances, and as you can see on the flat, it is actually, you know, 55 is pretty good. But for the amount of armour you've got, I expected it to be better. So anyway, yeah, that was a 15-0 wipe in 14 and a bit minutes. And none of the other results I had in this tag were quite that dramatic. But yeah, I had quite a lot of fairly terrible games in this, especially when you get down-tiered. I mean, any of these machines with this around about 190 penetration, if you get down-tiered, it's going to be painful. And this machine is really no different. But, you know, at least that ammo is cheap, so as a premium, it does make a reasonable amount of credits for not a huge amount of ammo fired. Although, of course, once you have to start reaching for the premium ammo, that profit's going to decrease considerably. So, I mean, same map again, by the way. This wasn't on the same day or anything, I don't think. This was a different day. It's just same map, different side, as a coincidence. How would I slot this in? Well, it's not bad. It's not bad per se, it's just mediocre. And as a tank to grind out, as I've said, I don't think the missions are terribly strenuous this time compared to what some of the other the free premium missions have been like. But if you were going to, if you were at the stage of wanting to see if this thing was any good and paying money for it, honestly, the Pattern KR is better as a package. It's slightly slower, but in all other regards is better. And if you were looking for something similar to this that was just flat out better, the STA2. So it kind of fits in definitely behind those two machines. It's you know, if it was just in on its own and I wasn't comparing it to these two things, then it'd be like, oh, okay, it's alright, it's not terrible, but not too brilliant. But given that there are other premiums in the game that are just flat out better than it, that makes it harder to recommend, and it makes me kind of scratch my head as to why it's even in the game to begin with. I don't know if they just felt like doing another mission and they didn't want to give away an existing premium, so they thought they'd add something in to grind out that, you know, not going to be super good but not going to be super terrible, which is pretty much what this is. Yeah, that's just what it feels like. It doesn't feel like it's been added because it particularly needs to be added. We've already got the Pattern KR and the Super Pershing as tier 8 premiums. Hell, there's even the very rarely seen T26E5 or whatever the heck it's called. Now that was a bit like nudging the T49, was not very careful of me there, so that undoubtedly threw his aim off a bit, but anyway. Anyway, yes, where was I? Yeah, so it feels like as an additional tier 8 American medium premium tank, completely unnecessary. This is just in the game because they didn't want to give away one of the existing premiums. And I think we have hit that stage of World of Tanks where you're not, like, the Swedish line is probably the last major national line we're going to see. And it's just, and I've touched on this previously, it's just the nature of the game that after a while you're going to run out of tanks to add. There are only so many tanks that have ever been produced, or, you know, so many prototypes and whatever. It's one of the reasons why we see a lot of the kind of proposals and paper designs and prototypes of Soviet tanks, because they produced a lot of them. So, although there are probably other ones that you could add for, you know, the Americans and the British, in terms of tanks that actually, oh yes, that's a rock, in terms of tanks that actually got built and saw service and whatever, we've certainly had most of those added to the game already. I mean, there are some kind of odd bits and pieces you might be able to add from other nations that aren't in the game already, but they'd mostly be low tier stuff, and it'd be hard to make an entire line of Hungarian tanks, for instance. You know, we've got a couple of Hungarian tanks in the game, but they've been slotted into the German tech tree because there just simply isn't enough to make an entire line of Hungarian tanks. So yeah, they have reached that stage where, hello, yes, I thought that T30 might be coming up. We have reached the stage where they've sort of run out of machines, so we've basically got this as a prototype. And if the front of the hull, I mean, we've got the various kind of tanks related to this in the game already, but the front of the hull, it seems very familiar to you. It's the T25 hull. In fact, the entire hull, it is that hull. That hull is in the game already. It's just got a different turret and a different gun on it. And if you're actually comparing it to the T25, well, that's a tier 7 tank destroyer. It's hard to compare them directly, but you know, it's better than that as a machine, certainly. But if this was at tier 7, well, it probably would be a lot more comfortable, especially with that lack of armor going on. Now that's just a plain lucky shot. We've pretty much won this game at this point. There's some things that are pretty good. I mean, the gun handling is certainly nothing to complain about. The penetration's not that good, as I've said, 192 pen for a tier 8, when you'll be seeing tier 10s. It's a bit iffy on a lot of occasions, but it's workable. At least it's not suffering like the T44 is suffering with the 175 pen, for instance. But still, there are plenty of targets where you're probably going to have to reach with the APCR. I decided to spend some hit points. I don't know what gun this guy has, but it's actually going to turn out not to be the big gun. It's the 120mm, which means he's got a faster rate of fire, but also I can probably finish him off. So I might take one more. Oh, there we go, ammo rack. I did find that happened a lot. The ammo rack seems to be particularly vulnerable in this thing. And this is with a crew with the loader with the ammo rack skill. I don't think it's quite Leopard PTA and Leopard 1 levels of you've been hit, there goes your ammo rack kind of thing. But yeah, the ammo rack got knocked out quite a lot, so that's a definite vulnerability. So, yeah, it's as a free tank to grind out. You know, I'm not going to be doing it myself because, frankly, I don't need it. And it would require playing more tanks than I really want to play on a daily basis at the moment. But for a lot of people, the opportunity to grind a tier 8 tank is not to be sniffed at. And on that basis, it's okay. It's nothing special, but it's nothing particularly terrible. And it makes at least reasonable credits because the ammo's fairly cheap and it's a premium. But yeah, just to reiterate, don't buy it. There are better things you could buy. The KR is a better tank to buy. The STA2 is a better tank to buy. Hell, if you wanted something with no armor that was really speedy, the CDC still has some viability, although the gun handling of the CDC is markedly worse. And it does have that vulnerability to HE penetrations. But still, you know, that speed that you can get at the CDC is going to be valuable a lot of the times. And the KR's not that far behind in terms of its absolute raw speed, but the power to weight just does not compare at all. So there we are, the T25 Pilot 1, which is a tank that didn't need to be in the game, but it's there anyway because wargaming likes money. That's my take on it. That's all, you know, all the premiums are there because wargaming likes money. It's how the game gets paid for. It's how wargaming is able to afford to keep making the entire World of Whatever franchise. But it just doesn't feel at all necessary given the other tier 8 medium premiums that we have. It just feels like one among many that's there because it's there, rather than it's there for a specific, you know, bit of extra flavour or for a different play style or whatever. So anyway, hey, hopefully you've found this useful. You can tell my level of enthusiasm for this tank, right? If you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can hit the sub button if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.